Yo, YouTube, what's going on? AJ here, back with another video. It's late at night, guys, but I want to get you guys this video recorded, and I'm probably going to post it early in the morning. That way you guys can see it. This is going to be the final 1.1 tier list, and you may be noticing something different. We're finally doing it ourselves. Now, normally we react to Pride Win, and we agree and disagree, but I realized that a lot of people like my takes on the tier list and the characters, and they don't like Pride Wins, and a lot of people, I think, are a little bit disgruntled by Pride Win in a way because there's multiple opinions on there and some of the things are very questionable. So we're going to be doing the final 1.1 tier list, and I'm going to give you my criteria as I played with every character, and also I've gone on friends accounts and people I trust who have given me access to their accounts with certain units that they've maximized completely and built up really well. So I've gotten a chance to play with every unit in the game besides obviously these two right here, because they're going to be releasing in 1.2. When 1.2 comes out or gets closer, we'll talk about them and we'll do another video then. But yeah, guys, let's get into this video. My criteria is going to be two things. Number one is going to be them at their max potential, so Resonance Chain 6. Number two is going to be right now where I rank them in the meta with their current team comp. So that means if they slide into one team comp, how good are they in that team comp? If they slide into multiple and they're really good over there, that's even higher value right there. So now that you guys understand that, let's get into the video and let's start tier list. And we'll use the male Rover and we'll just say he is the Spectral Rover. So how do I feel about Spectral Rover at R6? The fact that Spectral Rover can do good damage, it's not amazing, it's good, but they can also heal a little bit too. I'm gonna say that Spectral Rover right now is a solid unit in A tier. I don't need to say much more, guys. It's just a solid secondary support unit slash sub DPS for the Spectral element. It fits into multiple teams, and plus, I know a lot of people still like using the Spectral Rover, but of course, I think most people like this character more, and we can quickly move on now and talk about Havoc Rover, as Havoc Rover is just a monster, and they go into the straight into the S tier. Like, there's no debate about it. Quick burst damage, it's so high. The echo that you use to, I'm sorry, I forget the names, guys, of the echoes, but you guys know what I'm talking about. The final boss in the story, just the amount of sure quick damage and how quickly you can swap them in and just how effective it is. I think it just warrants the S tier spot because it's effective with more team comps and you're just going to have a lot of fun using them and get those high damage numbers off. All right, next let's talk about Yangyang. Now Yangyang at R6. Where does Yangyang go, guys? Does she go here? Does she go here? Does she go here? No, Yangyang, it goes in the A tier. And I'm going to put it ahead of Rover. And that's right, guys. If I put a unit to the left, right here is the first unit, that means I do believe they are better than that character to the right. So now that we've clarified that, Yangyang, what do I think about Yangyang? Aside from her, she's a solid unit. She builds up a lot of energy really quickly, and then she has great CC. I think those two things right now, guys, are like her biggest highlighting factor when she ults, because if you realize one thing, like CC is hard to go by in this game and grouping is hard to go by. So right now, the fact that we have few characters that do that efficiently and effectively, her value just goes up as of right now. Granted, I think the one thing with Yangyang is, guys, I don't think she can make S tier ever. Same with Spectral Rover. I think they've kind of peaked at A tier for now. I think they'll still remain A tier next patch and even the patch after that. But eventually, by the time 1.5 comes around, you're going to start seeing these units go down. Probably into the B tier, and I'm still trying to figure out, is Kuro going to release any more 4 stars going forward in the future, or are we just going with 5 stars at that point? Because if we start getting more 4 stars, then the list can start changing faster. But now let's move on to Chixia, and let's talk about her for a second. Now Chixia, I felt like last time in Pride Win's tier list was very disrespected. I think you could have used her a little bit with Encore, but honestly, nobody really wanted to use Chixia at the time because it felt like you weren't getting as high of value. But now with Changli releasing in the game, Chixia doesn't go to B tier, she's not C tier. No, I genuinely believe Chixia is a solid A tier, and I would rank him over both Rover and Yangyang. Now the reason why Chixia now goes all the way up from where Pride Win thought C tier up to A tier. Well, for me, guys, I always thought she was B tier. I don't know why Pride Win put her down into like that tier 2 area, because I always thought she was at least like B tier level. But now she's literally an A tier. I think my main reason behind it is because she's the only character in the game where if you wanted to run the standard team comp with Changli, meaning you have your main DPS, you have your sub DPS, and you have a healer, then Chixia takes advantage of every single buff that Changli individually gives, plus their gameplay synergizes really well. As I said before, the dual DPS, or if you consider Chixia like a sub DPS obviously, then what's it called, Changli allows these two characters, Chixia and Encore, to just pop off with this team comp, and it just allows for a very fun time. But currently in the game, Chixia is going to be the only character that can utilize all the buffs that Changli gives out. Moving on, let's get to Baizhi. Baizhi's like A tier too, but I think she's going to be in the back of A tier. Notice how there is a lot of good units in the game right now, guys. I really don't think there's a bad unit in the game besides one character, but I think Baizhi, the only reason right now, guys, that I warrant that she's an A tier, and I'm sorry for any Baizhi users that have her, is the only reason you may be using her is two reasons. Number one is you don't have Verina. Number two is you think she has a massive mountains, two personalities that you enjoy looking at, because that's the only two reasons. Like, seriously, guys, you either don't have Verina, number one, or you just like visually looking at Baizhi. If you currently don't have Verina, this is your best option as a pure healer. Next, let's talk about Sanhua. Sanhua, once again, same thing. I think Sanhua is an A tier. I would put her over Yangyang and stuff like that. I'm not going to put her over Chixia. I think that Sanhua is a good unit. I just don't think there's too many units that can fully utilize her in comps. I think right now Sanhua's cool in certain team comps, but unfortunately it's not enough to warrant her being like S tier. Do I think she's going to get power crept in the future? Yes. I kind of think right now just everybody in A tier is essentially going to get power crept, especially if they're a 4-star, guys, and that is the unfortunate reality, because we are going to be getting 5 stars that are just much better than them. Now let's move on to Danjin. Danjin, last time when we reviewed Pridewind, was basically in their version of A tier, which is like tier 1. But in all honesty, guys, let's just be realistic. If you have 6 copies of Danjin, no competition. No competition. She's straight S tier. This shouldn't even be debated right now. The amount of damage she does is ridiculous when she consumes her health and just goes off. And I don't even need to say much. If you guys don't believe me, just go look at Fobmaster. Fobmaster is one of the biggest whales in all of just gacha gaming. Like, he just gets multiple copies of units, just wants to get them all, get their weapons or whatever it is. She's a 4-star unit, guys. This is not no limited 5-star. This man had multiple copies of 5-star characters, or different characters, I'm sorry. He had different 5-star units, right? At the day 1 of the game. He's just like, nah, I like my Danjin better. Yeah, my Danjin clears. 4-star unit, R6. Yeah, I'm going to use Danjin to clear everything. I don't think about it. No, I'm going to do it. Yeah, I think she needs our respect, guys. Simply S tier, just clears, okay? She can clear everything. If you're not sold on any DPS unit right now and you need one, I recommend putting her. Honestly, there could be a debate for her over Rover, but I think Rover goes into a lot of different team comps. But actually, no, yeah, I'm gonna put her over Rover, guys. Yeah, I think she's just way too strong. I think she's gonna peak at S tier, unless in the future they do like give her some dedicated support that works perfectly with her kit. But I think she's perfectly fine at S tier. Alright, guys, let's move on to Yanwu. So Yanwu. Now, where am I going to rank Yanwu? I already know where I'm going to put him, guys. So most people are using Yanwu. There's only like maybe I would say 1 or 2% really using him because he's one of Jinhsi's best teammates. He is slightly better to use than Yinlin, but here's the issue, guys. I'm going to put him right here even behind Sanhua. Now, the reason is that, number one, most people are not going to build or use Yanwu because he is a 4-star. And even though he's better with Jinhsi than Yinlin is, right, I don't think it warrants even you to build Yanwu up and waste resources, because Yinlin not only works amazing with lightning units, but she's also still a great partner for Jinhsi. So the fact that Yanwu really does specialize and he's like, oh, the best in slot for this team comp, it doesn't warrant him being at that top, like higher in A tier over Sanhua and Chixia right now, because it's like, you don't necessarily need him. That's the thing. Like I said, with Changli, You do need a Chixia if you want to maximize damage. You do need an Encore, one or the other. With Yan Wu, it's like, dude, if we look at banner sales, like Yinlin's probably the most sold unit that Kuro Games has ever released. We're gonna see with the Changli sales and the Jinhsi sales soon when this patch ends and the total revenue comes in for those characters. But I don't think you guys as a light spender or free to play, even whales, guys, whaling for resources like crazy too. You guys know how hard it is to build echoes and all this other stuff. I don't think it warrants him getting built or anything like that when you have this girl who just literally fits into so many other team comps. Mortefi. This is the easy one. He's top of A tier. He'll probably be the second best in A tier. It just depends on a certain character I'm thinking about coming up. But Mortefi, if you know anything, if you have Jiyan, then Mortefi, heavy attack damage buffs. I don't even need to say any more. We all know how busted Jiyan is. And then you just pair him with this guy at R6, bro. You just go ham with that. Then you pair a Verina onto that team and it's just wraps, bro. Alto to me. I think Alto to me, and I apologize for anybody who's an Alto fan, I think he's gonna be right now, looking at the remainder of the list, the only C tier character. Currently right now, you can use Alto, but honestly guys, he's just not really great or amazing. He's like all right. And it kind of just feels like Alto kind of got left behind. I almost wish they kind of just made this character a little bit more powerful in general, as it's like, he doesn't really just do, to put it into perspective, I feel like every other character specializes or does something, right, in a unique way that benefits them or a team comp. Really don't feel like Alto benefits that many team comps. And if you say, oh, you can place him here, but there's always another unit that's better than him. Let's go to Taichi, B tier. I think Taichi got a little bit of flack last time. I think in Pride Wins tier list, she was like their equivalent of like C tier or D tier. I don't think they actually did put her down to tier 3. I think she was like, no, actually, yeah, she was their tier 3 if I remember correctly. Yeah, I don't think Taichi deserves that much disrespect, guys. Number one, she has that resonant skill buff, right, by a mile once you get her to, I believe it's R5 or R6, one or the other. But already right there, that's huge buff. If you really want to use her with Jinhsi, you could do that. You can put her on so many different team comps right now, because skill damage right now is going to be a big thing going forward. Not just with Jinhsi, but it feels like with multiple characters. So I think that's the thing they're going with for a little bit. We'll see how many patches that does continue. But honestly, the only reason she's in B and not A, guys, she does suffer from one thing, guys. A lot of people don't like her playstyle because it does kind of feel clunky, kind of feels cluttered. It doesn't feel as smooth as playing a bunch of other characters in the game would. You know what I mean? Lingyang. This one is going to be controversial. All right, guys, let's just talk about it. Lingyang is he's in the A tier. One of the things I want to talk about, guys, because I know this might come as a shocker for Lingyang. The reason why I'm putting Lingyang in A tier is because of the fact that I feel like most people who have Lingyang or have used them, number one, you guys have said he's either fun to play and stuff like that. Number two, the issue with Lingyang, and I know a lot of people would rather have him be here, but I'm not going to say that. Why? It's because I think a lot of people say he is hard to like play and get used to like timing that skill perfect. You know, if you see the skill button glow blue, you know you want to hit it right there and then time it perfectly. But the reason also why I think Lingyang is going to stay in A tier for a while, and honestly, when this character comes out, Zhezhi, and if I am correct, and if they do apply the element buff as well as the current buffs they are giving her, which is going to be Glacial buff, right, then he will move up like into like upper right here, because she's going to be buffing skill and Glacial. I think Lingyang is just a little bit overhated. I think the character design people aren't too fond of, but I have heard, you know, even me playing him a little bit, I understand the degree of difficulty and I understand the damage output. But trust me, when this character releases in the game, he will move from here to somewhere up here. All right, easily Encore. It's the top of S tier right now. Like, guys, I don't think there should be a debate or challenge for Encore. Super easy to build, ridiculously high damage, plays into the quick swap team comps, which I think going forward there's going to be even more supports when we get a dedicated fusion sub DPS slash buffer. Just wait till that happens, and then you're just quickly swapping over and over and over again. You know what I mean? Just popping Encore as a nuke, and then you're just popping off. Obviously, you can play her on her own, right, with the standard normal team comp, or you can run her with Changli, which I'm going to be doing, because I'm like, why not? Both are 5 stars, both can do a lot of damage, and especially when you learn how to utilize that team comp, when you learn how to play Encore and Changli together, it's just a fun time. 2 DPSs that are just throwing out massive damage for fun. It's just, visually it's nice to look at, and it's just a great time to play with. Easy S tier, top of S tier. Next we have Verina. All right, guys, Verina, I'm gonna be brutally honest right now, guys. She is not S tier, she's OP tier. There is not another sustain in the game that does what she does. The amount of healing she does, you're at 1 HP, you're about to die, switch to her quickly, pop her echo, pop the healing, 0 to 100, you're healed once you switch back and start damaging the unit. You know what I mean? Skill, obviously, what's it called, grants you another stack. You can jump in the air, attack, quickly heal. The fact that you just can quickly swap back to your DPS after popping all that is amazing as well. There's not, even though we have Baiji and stuff like that, she can't even heal at that level that Verina can. Ultimately, Verina's 1 of 1 right now, guys. There's not going to be another sustain unit in 1-2. It doesn't even look like, from what I'm hearing, and again, I take everything with a grain of salt until I get some confirmation, but it doesn't even look like 1-3. That means, guys, since Wuthering Waves has released, Verina has not only been her, but for all of 1.1, for all of 1.2, yes, all of 1.2 patch, and potentially for all of 1.3. That's multiple months of this game. Verina will be remaining as this healer, this sustain, as the top spot. Calcharo, guys, my favorite unit. Sephiroth, Mr. Cool Guy with the broad blade sword. Yeah, I know, Calcharo mains, we are not, this is dark times. Now, I want to preference by saying one last thing. I will say that Calcharo, if you really know how to play him, because I don't want to discredit any Calcharo mains, including myself, if you really know how to play him, guys, and you know how to animation cancel at the right times, and pull off all the stuff with Yinlin, then he is like bottom of S tier when you know how to really fully play him at the maximum damage. Unfortunately, I feel like because you have to go the extra mile, and other DPSs like Encore, Jiyan, Jinhsi are just so much easier to use, so much more versatile to like just play around in team comps with. I just can't see him anymore being an S tier. And then the one main issue why he's not an S tier, this boy is gonna come out soon and he's a main DPS. But Jianxin, where does she go? I know I said Encore was the top of S tier, but I just want to say I take that back now, because I did forget about Jianxin for a second coming up. I thought I'd already placed her in my mind. I don't know why my mind gapped up, but I'm going to place Jianxin at the top of S tier. My main reasoning being is because, guys, she is so ridiculously, let's talk about the versatility. She can be your hyper carry, like she can be your main DPS. You right now, if you grab Mortefi and Verina, slap those two with her. If you don't want to and you want to play her like everybody else is playing her, she's played as this supportive role. She does good damage at a sub DPS spot, bro. On top of that, not only is she an amazing sub DPS, she has good CC and grouping ability, right? Her ult does the same thing, which is really good. She's a shielder and she can heal a little bit. How can you be a good sustain, a good sub DPS, and you can still play as a main DPS with her if you really wanted to? Okay, guys, now we're on to our top 4. Yes, this is going to be spicy. Our final 4. Okay, now, where do I rank with Jiyan? Oh man, let's start off with everyone's favorite daddy, Jiyan. Where does Jiyan go? Jiyan goes easily in OP tier. Yeah, ever since release, guys, there is only Jinhsi who actually power creeps Jiyan in terms of raw damage, but in terms of ease of use, right, guys? And I will say this, there's not an easier character in the game to use than Jiyan, and that's a very good thing. Jiyan does high damage. Pretty much when you pop his ult, has like a free, pretty practically parry. It's so easy to parry the bosses with him and just attacking with him in his ult. Heavy damage bonus, obviously you smack on the Mortefi and just like boost the damage even higher and take him to another level. Very just, you can play a lot of other characters with Jiyan, and honestly the one thing that I think is going to benefit Jiyan in the future, keep this in mind, guys. Even though Jinhsi is stronger than him, Jinhsi right now currently is going to be having a future support that's even more dominant with her in Zhezhi. Right now, Jiyan doesn't really have like a dedicated support. Yes, he has more Tefi, but I'm talking about a 5-star unit. So there's potential for Jiyan to not only stay where he is, but potentially move up depending on how this list looks in the future, or just remain at the OP tier spot. I don't see him moving anywhere anytime soon. We have Yinlin. Where does she go? She goes easily in OP tier. I think she's gonna be in the back of OP tier. My reason being, guys, currently right now, obviously in Tower of Adversity, lightning or electro right now is currently being utilized. That's the main thing right now in one of the sides of the tower. She not only is monster with your Calcharo, but she's also versatile and can play into multiple different team comps, so you don't even need to utilize the electric buff. But keep in mind, in the future in 1.2, when this guy comes out too, she's going to be buffing him and they're going to work perfectly together, so that just makes her even more valuable. It's the fact that with lightning units or electro units, she's extremely valuable. Now we move on to our final two. We have Jinhsi, and then after her is our final character, Changli. Where does Jinhsi go? Jinhsi goes right here. Now currently, guys, Jinhsi, there should be no debate, best DPS in the game without a doubt. It's, even though you're a fan of a different character, you could be a fan of Jiyan, one thing we cannot argue is she's really easy to use. When you learn how to smoothly operate her rotation during a fight, it just becomes so extremely amazing to pull off her big damage number. You build up her bar, you pull out the dragon, the enhanced skill, you nuke the enemy, and then her ultimate, you know what's funny, her ultimate feels like just extra bonus damage added off the final enhanced skill where you call out her dragon. Her Echo Jue, you obviously can like put them in a circle, you know what I mean? It does a little bit of damage, but mostly the one thing people don't realize about Jue is that you can quickly grapple and get into the air, and then you can like attack from there, and you can kind of just levitate with Jinhsi even higher, avoiding certain attacks that other DPSs would have gotten hit by, where you can just focus on pulling off and doing your damage. Overall, she's already this ridiculously strong. Now we're on to our final spot, the queen, the fusion queen, Miss Beautiful herself, Miss Independent, as Neo once upon a time said. But without further ado, guys, where does the beautiful woman Miss Changli rank? She ranks here at the top of S tier. Now wait a minute, before anybody asks why is she not in OP tier, allow your boy to cook and explain right now. So currently, guys, right now, I think Changli being at the top of S tier is fair. However, I want to say something really quick. If you know how to pilot her and pull off her combos, essentially, right, with an Encore, with a Chixia, right, especially with one of those two, right, then she can easily move at the bottom of OP tier. But I'm gonna keep her at S tier and explain why. Currently right now, guys, with Changli, she suffers from one thing, okay, and that's the fact that she kinda is like a better version of Calcharo, where you have to learn how to really use her combos and pilot it off. That being said, is the barrier of pulling her off or learning her hard, can a casual player who only plays the game for a certain amount of time not pull off these combos? No, guys, anybody can pull off these combos. They just take a little bit of time. It's not that hard. It's nothing crazy technical. It's just a matter of like feeling the rotation out and pulling it off. The only thing about Changli right now that's currently missing is the same thing that Jinhsi and Jiyan. Well, I wouldn't even say Jiyan because Jiyan has more Tefi, but it's the same thing that Jinhsi is going to be getting a 1.2, but she will get eventually in the future. And I want to explain that real quick, and then we're going to end our tier list. With Changli, I've always said this with multiple videos, is her high level of versatility. She's the only DPS that gives dedicated buffs, like a dedicated fusion buff, and she wants to play in these quick swap rotations, right? The way her kit is worded, especially putting a buff on the DPS, gives me one hint at the future, guys, is that Changli is probably going to get a future sub DPS. And I've talked about this comp before that's going to come out in the future. I believe, guys, when you get really good at Wuthering Waves and you learn the Changli team comp and the rotation, there's a potential future where you're going no sustain. And I really do mean that with Changli, where you have someone like Changli, Chixia, or what's it called? Changli Encore or Changli Chixia, and then this sub DPS is going to come out. But that's it for this video, guys. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. As always, it's been your boy AJ. It's been late. I'm a little bit tired, guys, so excuse me if I missed out on a certain detail or anything like that. I do think I was extremely fair with every character. We can look over it one more time. I mean, I think the only character that unfortunately just feels useless as of right now is Alto, so I do apologize to the few Alto mains out there. But aside from that, I think, Taichi being at B, these characters all being at A, being respect worthy because they deserve it. I think the S tier was a solid rotation, and I do think the OP tier having 4 units, yes, we do have 4 OP units. I truly do believe that. I don't think there's just 1 or 2 or 3. Currently, right now, the way Kuro designed these units especially, I would say this, right, guys? These from the OP to S tier, if you have these units and you like these units, dude, just utilize them. Have fun. Go all out. That's it for this video. I'll see you guys for the 1.2 tier list whenever that comes out. We get to play with these characters.